I am a New Zealander. I was born at the end of the war in Te in the King Country, and my earliest days were spent in Piriora Forest. I grew up on a farm in Kuia near a marae. It was on the border of the King Country and the Waikato. I attended school in the predominantly Māori village of Kihikihi. In my earliest years in Haerini, I was educated in Māori history, and I understand the bond with the environment that runs deep in Māori. That same bond is very deep within me. I am passionate about my native land. I love the stories about the legendary inhabitants of the bush, wrapped in cloaks of flax and fern, and having sometimes extraordinary powers to meddle for good or for evil in the affairs of humankind. I was lucky enough to be a first scholar at Waikato University and Teachers Training College, and developed strong association with the Ngaruawahia Marae. I went to USA for the first time in 1963-1964 on an American field scholarship. This cemented the significance of the Maori people in my life because I saw many different cultural groups and studied the different races living in New York. In New Zealand, I qualified with distinction as a teacher in 1967, and later in 1989 as an emerging artist majoring in figurative studies and portraiture. I held the appointed government position for the Northern Regional Arts Council of the Queen Elizabeth Arts Council, and as an artist I was invited to go to Waitangi to make many sketches of the diverse Maori groups there for the 1919 ceremonies held for the commemoration of the 150 years since the Treaty of Waitangi signing. This was a government commission. My research for the work included sketching daily many people on Ti Ti Marae Waitangi under the guidance and encouragement of Kuia Edyrus Armstrong, who hosted me through the summer of 1989 and 1990. The framed red sketches, Upoko, were given to the subjects as gifts. Upoko refers to the sacredness of the head. On return from Waitangi, in my Auckland studio, I worked on developing knowledge from the portraits of the Upoko collection. I felt inspired with great energy and love. I sensed that I was not only recording the subjects, but honouring them at the same time. I wanted to complete a body of work which was ageless and timeless, and where words had little place. Painting these portraits helped me examine my roots deeply and grow to understand who and what I am as a New Zealander. After months of studying the features of the existing Māori in 1989, I began working to develop the series Tangata Whenua, the people of the land. The idea was to take the essential myths and give them a face. It was an exciting challenge, and I felt inspired to work combining the myth, the person, and the features of the Maori people present in 1989. Iwi across New Zealand are represented in the study. Aotearoa New Zealand is not a silk and satin country. Its colour is vivid, the bush black at its core and its heart volcanic. The 20 wax and oil pieces celebrate the deep bond Māori people have with the land and their heritage legends. There has been an abundance of art depicting New Zealand scenery. My desire was to portray the Māori people inseparable from the land and connected closely to their myths. For this is the Māori I grew to know, understand and love as a young girl. These are the people who shaped me and influenced my thinking about the environment, the community and art. I appreciate that my own children were born into a different time, place and space, and may never know this world, for it is being challenged by modern society. The strong unisex sense in this series is deliberate. I found the Māori to be a strong being, both able to nurture and be a warrior. The Māori of my youth walked both humbly and proudly, carrying knowledge about families, plants, myths and life forms of their areas. The frames show traces of the marks made when passing through the land. The boys from Hatupetua School, Northcote, Auckland, were assigned to poker work the frames with traces of patterns found throughout maraes across New Zealand representing their iwis. It was a privilege to work with the school and to share celebration ceremony led by Awataha's Kamatua Arnold Wilson, a long-time teaching colleague. In early 1990, the paintings began travelling from marae to marae as a QE2 touring package. The paintings travelled with great blessing. They were slept with and protected on all their journeys. Many huis, meetings and kapahaka, song and dance occurred as the people discussed the myths associated with each work. The collection was officially recognised Project number 2406, New Zealand 1990 Commission, with a brief to depict how the Māori people look in 1990 and to portray their stories and bond with the land. The portraits are realistic, painted in mixed media of beeswax, pastel, acrylics and oils. The deep sense of peace, harmony and wisdom in these portraits give a glimpse of the rich beauty of people who live with strong legends about their connection to the natural and supernatural world. The Tangata Whenua Queen Elizabeth II tour was hosted by community arts councils and by maraes. During 1990, I endeavoured to travel to each location and meet with the people. While I listened to many stories about the loss of land and seashores, about hardships, protests and fears for the future, I also witnessed a strong culture, very grounded, and with a rich sense of community and belonging. Perhaps the Māori are one of the last indigenous races inheriting a natural affinity with the land. It is part of their spirit and soul, and they are inextricably mixed. The tour opened at Waitangi Festival in 1990, and then journeyed to Kerikeri, Rotorua, Rawini Opanoni, Hokianga, Pukekohe, Kaitaia, Te Aumutu, Dargaville, Hamilton, Northcote, Hatupetua, Mangere East, Taupo, Waihi, Whakatane, Otara, Te Kuiti, Karorau, Warkworth, Henderson, Te Arawa, Morrinsville, Coromandel, Thames, Matamata, Papakura, Wellsford, Whangarei, Mairangi Bay, Kihikihi, Upoko. After Upoko, it was brought to Hicks Bay to become a permanent exhibition in the Hicks Bay Motel Lodge on the east coast of New Zealand. This lodge offers security, a gallery space and a beautiful surrounding for contemplation of the works. The local people appreciate and understand what it is to be intensely bonded to the bush and sea. The light of Hicks Bay has always seemed as the Tuscany of New Zealand to me. Requests to buy and tour the works continue to come from overseas. Hard bids came from London and from Germany. Te Wānanga o Aotearoa Epakura campus were keen to purchase the collection outright. I have a strong connection to that organisation, having been raised with Dr. Lindsay Rogers, OBE of Taumutu and attending Taumutu College. I totally supported the work of Rongo Weteri, Order of New Zealand, in his fine bid to build the institution which has become known as Te Wānanga o Aotearoa. I believe the Tangata Whenua collection is best kept as a whole and should remain in New Zealand. I have gifted this collection to be hung at Hicks Bay Motel Lodge, not only because it is where the sun rises first in the east, but it is a magnificent environment where visitors and guests can respect the significance of the collection in harmony with natural beauty. It was difficult to choose which myths to portray, as there are so many wonderful stories associated with the Māori people and the land. These are the ones I chose. Over the years, people have approached me for copies of the works and have asked for a book to be made for friends and family. It has been a pleasure to revisit the works now that time has passed and put this collection into a small legacy book. The cultural knowledge is priceless and the paintings are unique. I hope this book will help you understand and treasure the land, the people, the environment, and the life they represent.